We're up, we're up, we're up, we're up.
Karmelo, do you have anything that you'd like to say? Karmelo, do you have anything that you'd like to say to the victim, to the family of the victim? Why were you armed, Karmelo, why were you armed at school? Explain your self-defense. How is this self-defense?
Excuse me.
Karmelo, you'd like to say?
I had the crowd next to you.
When black folks decide to put money and support behind a young brother who didn't start a fight, who didn't threaten nobody, who was sitting where he could have right to be sitting, was threatened more than one time, was physically attacked, he defends himself, and then all of a sudden he's in jail for. But guess what, brother? We gonna stand behind ours like you white folks stand behind yours.
Okay, let me
that
be
young
clear.
brother was attacked.
I know you're yelling
he defended
because
himself.
you really get worked up when you internalize it, but shame on you. How absolutely despicable for you to sit here and try to draw this false equivalency between Rosa Parks and this scumbag murder, right? Shame on you for living a life defined by make-believe grievance that you seek a pulpit to lie to people. And let's talk about those lies.
And he passed, my son watched his brother in his arms. I need a break.
Incredibly trying.
So for people who want to know, why were you selected? I mean, what is your experience? I mean, you had to be really good.
I can't speak as to why I was selected. In any case, it's important to have an attorney that you connect with, that you feel.
Alright, what's up with the YouTube fam? I'm back again with another video, right? So look, if you're a supporter of the channel, make sure y'all hit that like button and leave a comment here and there. That way y'all can stay engaged with the channel and y'all can continue to receive notifications when I do post videos. Other than that, we're gonna go ahead and move forward into this whole situation. So look, I gotta start it out the right way by saying RIP to Austin McCalf, and I wanna send my condolences out to the whole entire family and anybody out there that had a genuine love for him. I really do hate that this whole situation took place all together. But you know, it is what it is. It already didn't happen. I just want to say that I really do hate that there's so much division going on. It's just crazy these days. But look, okay, so if you don't know what's going on, I'm going to give you a brief synopsis of everything that took place. But I can't just, dwell on it too long because, we got to move forward. So look, basically it was a track meet going on. It was a young man by the name of Karmelo Anthony. He went to the track meet. And it was two young men that were there too as well, Austin McCalf and his brother. So I'm gonna keep it real with y'all. I ain't gonna sugarcoat this shit, man. Look, they was bullying him, and it led to them, getting into an altercation, and somebody's life got taken, which was Austin, right? Now, it's so much division going on because people are saying that it shouldn't have went this far, this and this and that, and I understand that. And the main reason why I haven't been talking about this whole situation, well, I said I was going to tell y'all all the details, but basically, Karmelo went to jail. He had $1 million bond. Today, they lowered the bond. And then he ultimately got out today, a while ago, right? Now, the main reason why I didn't talk about this is because really, we really don't know what the hell is happening. There's so many witnesses, so many different people saying so many different things. I just feel like that we do know that there was some bullying going on and it never should have happened. And I want to say, a lot of people crucifying Karmelo, and I can understand that. And you got to realize and understand, too, that you got to teach your children to keep their hands off of other people, not justifying anything that took place. So make sure you pay attention to that. I know somebody's still going to try to argue. Just get your weird ass on. But for the adults here who can clearly understand what I'm saying, I don't really condone and no BS like that at all. So, yeah, I just feel like you got to learn to keep your hands to yourself to avoid any type of situation because you never know what nobody's going through, what they went through, and what they will do to you. But, it's still not a justification to take someone's life. But, I just want people to just sit back and just look at things for what it really is. It's easy to say what you would and wouldn't do in certain situations, but, if it was your family member that was getting, picked on and hit and stuff like that allegedly, then you would understand them defending themselves. If it's got to be a drastic measure taken, then it is what it is. But, you know, a lot of people are asking other people, what would you do? What if somebody did that to your family? What if your child hit somebody and then their life got taken, or whatever the case may be? You got to understand this. You can't be biased in this. You got to keep it all the way real. If your child do that to somebody, it's a consequence that can be taken that can lead to something like this too as well. You can't pick and choose. You got to have that same energy all the way around. But I'm not condoning any of it. I'm just saying you just got to keep that same energy. I just feel like that overall, ultimately, you know, justice will be served in some type of way, shape, form, or fashion. The child should have never lost his life, and at the same damn time, you shouldn't be out here putting your hands on nobody, addressing nobody, thinking that you can bully them and things like that, with really not understanding what this could lead to. I'm not here to pick a side. I'm not here to argue with nobody about nothing. That's why I really didn't want to talk about it, because people, you know, choose not to understand you on purpose, and nobody got time for that shit. But ultimately, like I said, it never should have took place. Nobody should have been bullying, and damn sure nobody should have got their life taken in this type of situation. But it is what it is. You know, you out here doing certain shit, and it comes with certain shit, so it is what it is. But I'm gonna let y'all go ahead and get into these videos. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on everything, and we're gonna talk about everything in the comment section. Like I said, you know, nobody should have been doing nothing to nobody. That's just how I feel. But I got a lot of videos for y'all to watch. Well, a lot of video footage for y'all to watch. So I'm gonna let y'all get into that, and we're gonna talk in the comments.
Texan has the right to defend themselves when they reasonably fear for their life. Self-defense is a protection that applies to each and every one of us. There are two sides to every story. And Karmelo is a 17-year-old kid and an excellent student. He is the captain of his track team. He is the captain of his football team. And prior to this, what was on his mind was what college he was going to go to. This is a tragedy all the way around for both families. Rushing to judgment, you know, trial by public perception and trial by media is not how we ensure justice is done. We are confident that after a full investigation, that the truth will come out. Thank you.
Mike, you took umbrage with the state's assessment that this was simple and brutal. Why so?
Well, the fact of the matter is, like I said, there's two sides to every story, and we've only heard one side. You know, in any criminal case, the police investigate, and the defense is always far behind that. And so it is a one-sided investigation to this point, and even that investigation is still ongoing. So to say that it happened this way or that way is just not accurate at this point. All of the facts are going to come out, and that's why our system of justice requires that we keep our minds open and we let the facts come out as they are after a full investigation.
Is your client going to be able to make bond and get out today?
I anticipate that he will be able to make bond. I can't speak to how quickly that will go. You know, funds, you know, in the funds that have been raised are not quick to come out. And then, you know, there's obviously a process to the release process once bond is posted.
The big question that a lot of people have is, why was this young man armed on school property?
That's an understandable question, but it's not something that, frankly, we're prepared to even go into. You know, this is something that I know the police and the prosecution want to get it right and want to have a full and fair investigation, and so do we. So it would be irresponsible for me or them at this point to start saying, this is what happened, this is why, anything. So I understand that's a big question. It's going to be a big question, and it's something that we will find out, and we ask that the public, as hard as it is, withhold judgment and let both of these families have justice, that let both of these young men, you know, the Metcalf family and the memory of who they've lost, but also Karmelo, have a fair and full justice process.
How has he?
Ultimately, your feeling on the reduction of this bond, you feel it's fair?
Yeah, I feel it's fair. You know, bond, as the judge said, is not supposed to be an instrument of oppression. It's not supposed to keep people in jail. It's not supposed to punish. It's supposed to ensure that a person shows up to court, complies with all conditions, and it's supposed to keep the community safe. So this is a large and substantial bond, and the judge has, I think, rightly imposed reasonable conditions that will ensure both Karmelo and the Anthony family's safety, but also the safety of the community.
What was Carmelo's reaction today? He didn't seem very talkative toward you. And how has jail, I guess, been so far for this teenager? And is he on suicide watch or anything like that?
I honestly can't speak to Karmelo's reaction because I was so focused on the hearing and what was going on and what the judge was saying. I think we have to all remember Karmelo is a 17-year-old kid who's never been in any sort of trouble before. If you can just put yourself in his shoes, this is a scary, bewildering process, and I can't even imagine what was going through his head, just as I'm sure I can't imagine what was going through the heads of the Metcalf family. So, this is something that is new to all of them and incredibly trying.
So for people who want to know, why were you selected? I mean, what is your experience? I mean, you had to be really good.
I can't speak as to why I was selected. In any case, it's important to have an attorney that you connect with, that you feel has the right amount of experience and the right investment in the case. And I'm not speaking to anybody else. I just know that that's important in any case.
Just how unsafe does this family feel? You mentioned it multiple times.
Yeah, look, I'm not going to speak for them at this point, but I think you can imagine the press coverage on this case has been immense, and the online and public reaction has been immense, and unfortunately, as is common in our culture, especially lately, the vitriol and the public reaction one way or the other has been intense, and threats and talk of race war and all kinds of insanity isn't good for, obviously, the Anthony family. It's not good for the Metcalf family. It's not good for the peace and safety of our community. So, I would ask, and I know both sides would ask, that the temperature on this be allowed to come down. That the media, you guys have a job to do, and I understand that everyone does. But at the same time, we just ask everyone in the public and everywhere to let this process play out fairly and fully for both sides. Thank you guys.
This segment here discussing the tragic loss of life of a young high school student in Frisco, Texas at a track meet. And watching that newscast, it upsets me because that newscast is full of damn lies. This is a tragic situation where a young man lost his life, yes. But young Karmelo Anthony, in this case, the young man who's been charged with, he did not assault anyone in the beginning. He didn't start this fight. The young man approached him with his brother, threatening Karmelo to move out of a spot that was not assigned to anybody. Where Karmelo was sitting, he had a right to be sitting. There was no assigned seating anywhere in the stadium that excluded students from sitting in certain areas. Then when they went to Karmelo, he was threatened by both brothers. And he told them, don't put your hands on me. And they threatened to put their hands on him. And he told them, if you put your hands on me, watch what happens. The white kid, in this case, Karmelo in the face. He didn't push him, he punched him in the face. And then that young man defended himself, and unfortunately, a young student lost his life. But Charles, in the state of Texas, you have a right to stand your ground, and if you are the victim of a vicious attack, you can use deadly force if necessary to protect yourself and your life, to stop you from becoming a further victim of an assault or a crime. Why is this young man in jail when he didn't start it? He didn't approach anyone. They approached him. They used profane language toward him. They threatened him and then assaulted him, and he defended himself. Why is he in jail? He's defended himself from a vicious attack and assault. So this young man, in my opinion, should not be in jail. Teach your children. Keep your hands to yourself. That's what needs to be taught here. And to tell this young brother to give up your seat, give me your seat, this ain't no damn Rosa Parks era. You just can't go to a young black man and say, give up your seat. He had a right to sit there. And so that brother had his back of the bus moment and refused to give up his seat, and it cost that young white kid his life.
I rarely say this, Quanell. I sometimes internalize it, but shame on you. How absolutely despicable for you to sit here and try to draw this false equivalency between Rosa Parks and this scumbag murder. Right? Shame on you for living a life defined by make-believe racial grievance that you seek a pulpit to lie to people. And let's talk about those lies. Even if you assume everything that is coming out of the Karmelo Anthony camp, even if you assume all of that is true, under the laws of the state of Texas, he is still absolutely guilty of murder, period. Like, you can assume all the fabrications are true. It's still murder, right? You do not have a right to use deadly force in response to a shove or a punch. Now, mind you, all the witness statements are saying it was a shove that was goaded, but let's assume everyone's lying and this murderer is telling the truth. You still can't, because the scenario, what you're advocating for, and pulling Rosa Parks into, is that every time someone walks through a club and someone shoves them or bumps them, you can pull out in the heart and kill them. And I have no doubt that more is going to come out of Karmelo Anthony, that more evidence. Now, there are rumors that I don't want to regurgitate.
Oh, please do.
No.
Please do.
Let's talk about what has been sold. That you sent me this weekend when we were discussing it. You sent me the statement by the police chief that turned out to be just fabricated. Somebody out there making believe the FBI is now involved, right? And that people are regurgitating all over social media. And it's all driven on racial lines. You are the one that was calling for Daniel Penny to go to prison for life. Now, mind you, we have this new spectacular game in America, right, where we play white man always bad and evil, black man always good, no matter what happens. The truth is, my feelings on this, if it was a white young man who brought a knife to school, went to someone else's tent, started being a jackleg, refused to move out, and then pulled out a in someone's heart, I would call him a murderer. And if a white kid did exactly what Karmelo Anthony did to a black kid, you would be out here marching in the streets.
Oh, no, I would
People
not
would
be.
burning your
George Zimmerman went to Trayvon Martin and put his hands on that kid who was doing nothing wrong. And you same white folks found George Zimmerman not guilty of murder when Trayvon was defending himself. Right here in Texas, you've had many cases where white men have been assaulted by black men. They use deadly force and they're not charged.
Why are you talking about something else?
You cannot tell me.
Why are you lying about my position, you despicable, shameless liar?
He was assaulted. That young man was assaulted. He was threatened more than one time. He was asked to move from an area he had a right to sit in. He didn't approach nobody. He didn't threaten nobody. That young man, after being threatened continuously 3 times in a row, was in the face. He had a right to defend himself. So don't tell me that this young man can be threatened multiple times and physically punched and assaulted, and he ain't got a right to put his hands in self-defense on the person assaulting him. And he can use whatever force is necessary to stop the attack.
Why do you just
You
lie
brought up Daniel
all the
Penny.
time?
You brought up Daniel Penny.
I did.
Daniel Penny choked the young man on the subway. But that young man hadn't assaulted anybody. He was making but he physically didn't touch anyone. This case was threats backed up by a physical attack and assault that this young man put on that young black brother. That young black brother had a right to defend himself when he was beyond threatened but viciously attacked.
Well, there's another key difference, right? Mr. Penny, right, had a crazy guy going up and screaming and yelling and threatening people, an unhinged guy that should have probably been in a hospital.
The same thing the white boy did to Karmelo Anthony.
Not screaming over you. Let me finish. Right? And Daniel Penny, not using a deadly weapon, restrained him. And I said from the very beginning, there's a real question about where the line was drawn and what he did and if he was alive. Now, the medical examiner came out and they said it turns out that the fellow was still alive when Mr. Penny let him go. But that was a very nuanced situation. But here's a big nuance. I mean, something that you're ignoring is it didn't involve a deadly weapon. But let's talk about examples. So Daniel Penny put up a GoFundMe and it got taken down. Oh, it can't be up, right? The Anthony family, the wonderful Anthony family that raised this did such a wonderful job, this defender, right, of liberty, this new Rosa Parks for 2025, as you call him. They put a GoFundMe up for $100,000. It didn't get taken down. The moment, minutes after it got the $100,000, they jacked it up for more money because it's all just a con.
George
it's
Zimmerman
all just
raised
a con.
$1 million that was donated to him after Trayvon Martin. Kyle Rittenhouse, after he two people in cold. He raised over $1 million. Wait a minute.
Let's
the
talk
officer
about that.
who Michael Brown, he raised almost $2 million. So don't tell me that when black folks decide to put money and support behind a young brother who didn't start a fight, who didn't threaten nobody, who was sitting where he could have right to be sitting, was threatened more than one time, was physically attacked, he defends himself, and then all of a sudden he's in jail for, guess what, brother? We gonna stand behind ours like you white folks stand behind yours.
Okay, let me
that
be
young
clear.
brother was attacked.
I know you're yelling
he defended
because
himself.
you really get worked up
we sick
when you're
and tired
lying.
of this bullshit.
But let me say,
of y'all
very clear.
But then it's justified. We defend ourselves.
Now,
it's
let's
the hell with that.
Firstly, George Zimmerman absolutely. The officer that shot Michael Brown, there's evidence that Michael Brown attacked him. The question is, there's also some evidence that he was running away that was refuted. That's a very weird situation. It exemplifies all cops.
But this young man attacked Karmelo Anthony.
Hold on, Mr. Liar in Chief.
No, you're the liar.
No, I'm not going to lie.
Because you white folk hate when black folks
You
defend
brought up
themselves.
George Zimmerman. He was prosecuted. It failed.
And white folks found him not guilty. All white
jury. He was absolutely a murderer, in my opinion. I disagreed with that outcome, just like I disagree with the officer that Tamir Rice not facing charges. You
found not guilty.
You act like, well, he was never charged.
A grand jury said not guilty. Let him go.
Here's the thing. You act like all white people have this one opinion. What we're only seeing in America right now is the only thing we see is the brazenness of some people. Obviously, it's not everyone that racialize every incident, and they look at it through the prism of race, right? And for you, if you flip-flop the races here, you would be screaming about the entire different thing, and I'd be agreeing with you that was wrong. But you make all of your decisions based on race. Then you lie and scream and talk.
Assessment
no, it's
here.
not an assessment.
Because there's a white victim in this case.
How
I'm sorry,
does Texas
Charles.
law,
He didn't start a fight.
Texas law,
he didn't threaten anybody.
Well, actually,
Carmelo Anthony did not threaten anybody.
Very clear.
I've talked to witnesses. I've talked to the family. I've talked to the
grandfather.
grandfather.
Which family?
Carmelo Anthony's family.
Exactly.
And I've talked to his family.
You're getting paid.
And gotten
You're
details.
getting paid,
not
Carmelo?
a penny.
Yeah,
not a penny.
Yet.
But
Here's
guess
the
what?
deal.
I'll say this to you.
Don't say it.
Not only am I not getting paid, I'm sending some of my money to his defense fund.
Okay, hey,
because that young brother
let's
deserves an adequate and thorough defense, and I'm donating to it, and I pray others do also.
So if he has such a valid defense, why are there so many lies swirling around in the slurry of social media that first it was that there was past encounters between these brothers and Mr. Anthony, his girlfriend, that they robbed Mr. Anthony, that they attacked him and beat him up, and he was looking at his life was threatened. When none of it occurred, there's very detailed witness accounts that are available.
But there's all kinds of lies going on.
There
are all kinds of lies going on.
Actually, there's not, right?
Now, what about this one?
So I read a
now, this young
I'm
man
not
was
finished.
killed.
You can yell, I can yell too. No, you interrupted me.
You opening your mouth to me like that. Don't frighten me. You white folks are reaping what you sow. You're reaping what you sow.
White folks
You're reaping what you sow.
So what did Austin Metcalf deserve to get murdered in your book?
When he threatened more than once.
Okay.
When he approached
what did he say?
Let me finish.
What did he say?
When he threatened that if he did not give up his seat, what he was going to do.
What did he say he was going to do?
When he threatened that young man that if you don't move, I'm going to shoot you in your face.
Okay.
2. 3, when he decided that he was going to take his hand, that innocent kid in the face who didn't threaten him, who was not breaking any laws, who was not violating no school policies or procedures. When he did that, he crossed the line.
He was violating
and it gave Carmelo Anthony the right to defend himself. Carmelo Anthony was not the instigator. He was not the initial aggressor. The instigator, the threatener, and the initial aggressor, Mr. Metcalf, he brought that on himself.
Okay. That's a disgusting take, right? But you said he wasn't breaking any rules. Was it a violation of school policy to come to the track meet armed with a weapon? Yes or no?
Wait a minute.
Yes or no?
It was that kind of knife.
Yes or no?
It was that kind of knife.
Yes or no?
It was not that kind of knife.
Well, what kind of knife was it?
That's the lie being told.
No.
It was not no butcher knife, no kitchen knife. It wasn't no buck knife. It wasn't that kind of knife.
What kind of knife was it?
See, I'm going to be quiet right now. It's going to come out.
Oh,
those knives that he used were the same ones they used to help put them tents up.
Okay, so he was armed with a knife. Is he
Everybody,
allowed,
a lot of kids had those knives putting those tents up. It's a custom knife that they used to put those tents up. He didn't bring no weapon like that.
Are you allowed to carry a knife at school?
Charles, it was not that type of weapon.
Okay. Was it a knife
at
or
all,
not?
Charles. It was something that they used to help erect tents.
Okay. Who told you this?
All of them. Let me say this to you, Charles. I'm not going to get too deep into that.
I get
point,
that. Had Karmelo been in trouble before for carrying a weapon at school?
I don't know anything about that.
You don't know anything about it. Okay. So we can agree, though, that it is in fact a violation of policy to have a weapon at a track meet. Yes
Charles,
or no? Yes or no? Can we agree to that?
He didn't bring that type of weapon.
Okay.
He did not.
Did he have a weapon hidden in his backpack?
He used a weapon to defend himself,
Did he
Charles.
open up his backpack?
He used a weapon to defend himself.
I dare you to touch me.
No, Charles.
Well, so
he had a right to do that.
Oh, well, really?
He wasn't wrong.
Really?
If you in my face do bodily harm to me, if you over and over do bodily harm to me, and then you in my face, because he got a right to use whatever force necessary to stop that attack.
So what you're saying is, if it turns out that everyone that was there that gave witness statements that have been published, if they weren't lying, and he didn't punch him in the face, right? If they didn't threaten him with physicality, he didn't in his face, do you still think that was okay?
I've talked to two students.
Do you still think that was okay?
Deeper. I've talked to two students who were right there, Caucasian students.
Okay.
And they told me, yes, he was punched in the face.
Who were those students?
I'm not going to name them.
Okay, of course you're not.
But those two
because you're
students,
lying to Fox Soul.
No, you are a damn liar.
No, I'm not.
I talked to those two students.
You are the same person.
They admitted that he that boy in the face after him, Charles.
Okay. You are the same person that sent me this narrative along with a false police chief statement.
That was put out there before the public, yes.
Right? The thing is, you are just regurgitating lies that are all designed that you wouldn't. And my whole problem is not that you're. My whole problem is not.
Punched him in the face.
My whole problem.
So if he punched him, was that self-defense?
No, it's still not a tactic.
So if you
want me to tell
you threaten that kid over and over and him in the face, you can't use no force necessary to stop that attack. So Texas don't have a standing ground law.
Do you want
Texas don't have a standing ground law?
Not in that context.
Oh,
no.
stop it,
I think
Charles.
you misunderstand it.
No, he got a standing ground law, Charles, and he stood his ground.
Okay, you're lying.
He stood his ground,
and I don't
Charles.
know for sure, although I know you're a very intelligent man, so I think you're knowingly lying as opposed to just.
No, you
but
just
my
don't like
problem,
I'm putting the 12
my
truth
real
in your
problem
face.
with this, it's not that you're wrong about Texas law. My real problem with this is that this incident has made it glaringly clear that you are willing to take whatever position you have to take, irrespective of the truth, based purely on skin color. And that's repugnant. In Texas, right, so let me educate you about self-defense. He did not have the option to escalate to the use of a deadly weapon and deadly force in response to any sort of just shove, or even if it was a punch, right? You can't pull out a shoot someone that.
Can you do if you get punched?
Hold on. In Texas, you can punch them back. You can shove them back. No, it's true.
You got a right to stop the aggressor.
No, you don't have
a right
to
stand
use deadly
your
force.
ground and stop the aggressor.
So you think that we live in a state where every time someone shoves or punches someone, the other person can pull out a or a knife, kill them?
This is what I believe.
Yes or no?
This is what I believe.
No, you're going to lie.
That if
lie
you go up to someone and you threaten them, continuously threaten them, and then you follow up on that threat and physically attack them and them, they got a right to use whatever force is necessary to stop the aggressor.
Okay.
That's what I believe, and that's what took place in this case.
So here's a truth for you. If you have to make stuff up to justify what you're arguing, you don't have an argument, right? And the truth is, the scenario, the Texas and America that you're arguing for, and you're only arguing for it because the is black, right? If the was white and the victim was black, you'd be leading marches in the street.
No,
people
would
be
not.
burning stuff down. But that's a whole different deal. You want an America, and you can't even see the slippery slope. You want an America where every time someone punches somebody on a campus, at an airport, and wherever, if they can get their hands on a deadly weapon, they can open up their bag and say, hey, you better not touch me or else, and then shove someone's heart or through their chest. That's the America you want.
I want an America to where if you are not a double standard America, not a two-system justice America.
That's all you want.
Not laws for white folks or black folks. What I want is an America that says, if you go up to somebody who's not doing anything wrong to you, who's not threatening you, and you start threatening them, and then you follow up those threats by physically attacking them, they got a right to use whatever force that is necessary to stop that assault and that aggressor. That's the America that I
But see,
want.
that's
but
not the story that's
unfortunately,
out there.
whenever black people or black men do that to a white person,
Yes,
it's
that's what it
justified.
is.
Whenever
That's
a white
what-
to kill a
that's-
black person,
okay.
just thinking they were threatened, it's justified.
So-
You said on this show, and you said Daniel Penny was not guilty. You said on this show and said Daniel Penny should be found not guilty, that it was wrong that he be charged. And the young man that he did not physically assault Daniel Penny at all. He was somebody else, and Daniel Penny intervened. And so how in the hell can you sit here right now and say that a young man who was over and over, as Karmelo Anthony was, and was that he doesn't have a right to defend himself? Because in the other case, Mr. Penny is white, and in this case, in this case, Karmelo Anthony is black.
Actually, it was you that took the opposite position. I took the same position, right? That you have to look at when you have a claim of self-defense, you have to look at the immediate facts and what happened and talk about it, especially one where you have a physical force, a restraint that led to a. It turned out the testimony during the trial was that and I forget his name, he was still alive when law enforcement got there. So it contravenes the narrative that it was caused by the chokehold. Now, I don't know. I didn't sit on the jury. And then it comes down to the reasonable use of force, right? He was restraining him, and the question was to restrain too much. It's a very nuanced question, and that was my position. You want to make everything black or white because you're alive, but I'm not finished.
Is it a crime to threaten somebody with physical harm?
Again, there is no evidence.
You a lawyer, based on witness testimony, Charles, is it a crime in Texas to threaten somebody with physical harm? Yes or no?
It is a class. Let me.
Okay.
I let you go on.
Yes or no, sir?
It is a traffic ticket level.
Okay, now wait a minute. Is it also a crime to physically attack someone who's no threat to you whatsoever?
It is a crime to assault people. It'd be Class C. If
So
there was
did
no
not
pain, there was assault.
So did Mr. Metcalf in the commission of a crime?
Okay, again, you don't have a right. See, you don't.
Did he committing a crime?
Well, I don't know. In
so
fact,
if he physically attacked that kid first,
what the witness statements are,
crime.
okay, but the witness statements are that he told him that, in fact, that Karmelo Anthony went under the tent and was harassing people. He asked him to leave, and then
Mr.
There was a shove.
died in the commission of committing
Karmelo
a crime.
Anthony is a disgusting murderer.
No,
he's
not.
Calling him a disgusting.
He's a victim of an attack.
Marching, burning, and looting.
He's the victim of an attack.
You are a liar.
Well, Jeff, take me through, as far as you know, the events of this morning. What happened? How did you get the call? How did you figure out what happened to your son?
Well, it started with a call from his football coach, who was not at the track meet, and said, I think Austin has been stabbed. And I said, where at? And he said, Kuykendall Stadium. I said, I'm on my way. So I drove up there, went through a load of police officers, and was able to see my son on the gurney with a huge hole and blood all over him, and they were pumping him. He wasn't breathing, and his eyes were rolled back in his head. So I had to find his brother. They're twins. And so I found Hunter and tried to get him under control as best we could. And then I loaded him up in my car, and we drove to the hospital as quickly as possible. And we waited. And when the doctors came in and said that he didn't make it, it was tough. My son took it extremely hard. Mm-hmm. I'm still in shock, to be honest. I mean, I'm numb. So it really hasn't hit me. I don't believe any parent should ever have to bury their child. And I pray that, maybe there's changes made as far as security or things like that. And maybe we can learn from this and try to turn a tragedy into something positive to make sure it doesn't happen to anyone else's child. I don't want parents to feel like I feel today. So I've already forgiven the person who stabbed him. God's going to take care of everything. God's taking care of my son. I kissed him. When I kissed him goodbye for the last time, I told him it's not goodbye, it's see you later. So I just have to trust in God and my faith to pull us through. I don't understand his plan. We're all subject to trial and tribulations. God God didn't say life was going to be fair or wasn't going to be hard, but he said he'll always be beside you and never leave your side. So we're going to lean deep into our faith. There's a vigil tonight at our church at 7 o'clock. I will be attending also. The outpouring of students and coaches and friends and family that showed up at the hospital immediately. It was just shows the way my son touched people's lives. He was voted team MVP of the football team this year. He carried a 4.0. He was on National Honor Society. He's ranked in the top 50 of the state in his position. He's having D1 colleges contact him. He had a great life ahead of him. And to be taken away, it's such a tragedy. I mean, I can't even tell you how I feel because I don't know how I feel. I feel numb at the moment. Yeah. I just hope that this doesn't happen to any other parent and their child. But I do hope for justice. I do hope for justice because this is unacceptable.
And the fact that, someone was immediately taken into custody, they know who did this, they are charging him with murder. I mean, how does that make you feel that police immediately got this person?
First of all, I feel sorry for that individual because he's now made a mistake that's going to cost him the rest of his life. The hard part that cost me is I lost my son, and his brother was holding him, trying to hold the blood in, and he passed. My son watched his brother die in his arms. I need a break. Oh. I'm so concerned about my son. They were twins, identical. They had each other's back. They had a bond.
Yeah, that only twins know.
Yeah. He's telling me, Dad, I can't make it. I can't make it without him. I said, we're going to have to, bro. We're going to have to. He would want us to be strong.
Can you tell me a little bit more about Austin, about, his personality?
Austin was a leader. He led the football team. He was voted team MVP by his players and coaches.
What was his position?
He played linebacker. Him and his brother both play linebacker. He played inside. His brother plays outside. We were so fortunate this past weekend that me, Hunter, and Austin, we grew up hunting together, and we had matter of fact, the ranch we own, the lease was not renewed, so we could never hunt there again, and we went there for the last weekend. And he said, Dad, I've never shot a pig before. I want to get a pig this weekend. I said, okay. Lord and behold, it's a heck of a story, but he shot his first pig this weekend. And we all talked, me, him, and Hunter, both. We all talked about these are memories that you take forever. After I'm gone, you can tell your kids about, well, your grandfather and we were hunting and we stalked and it took 2 hours, but we got this. I got my first pig, and he was so excited. And I'm so fortunate to be able to spend that weekend, not knowing it was the last weekend I'll ever spend with him.
And he also was on the track and field team?
Also was, football was his pride and joy. Yeah. He was working on track to increase his speed. Matter of fact, he's already dropped this 40 times. He was telling me about how he's dropped it. He's going to drop it some more. And he was an amazing, dedicated athlete. And by the outpouring of his friends and family that showed up immediately at the hospital, goes to show how he impacted other people's lives.
And what did that mean to you to know that your son did that?
Well, for me, I was diagnosed with cancer 9 years ago, and I was not supposed to live. And God blessed me because he knew I needed to be a father for these two boys. My two boys is what my life lived. I lived my life for my children. That was my why to keep fighting, and I'm cancer free. So God had a plan for me. So I was able to watch and be blessed so much. To having both my sons are amazing. My other son is just crushed. And I feel for him now, and he'll never be the same. None of us will. Grief, we all go through it, but the thing about grief is you don't get over it, you just learn to live with it. So, I don't have a choice other than to carry on, and I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure Austin's never forgotten. I'm sure he won't be. He's touched a lot of people's lives. He was a great individual, a leader, an athlete, very smart, 4.0. I couldn't ask for a better son. 2 of them. I couldn't ask. They were my whole life. And for it to be taken away so senselessly, when this guy was just sitting in Ron's spot and they asked him to move, stabbing my son in the heart, killing him. It's unfortunate, but he's gonna have to answer to those consequences. And I hope justice is served.
Yeah, is that you know? And I know Hunter probably everything happened so quickly. I mean, is that what he kind of told you? What happened? That, I mean, did you know Austin to have any enemies? Did Austin know this person?
No, they have no contact with this person ever before. I can tell you what happened. I know firsthand. I wasn't there, but I talked to my son.
Yeah, what is
everything, I know exactly how it all transpired. It was a multi-Frisco high school track meet. Yep. Many high schools were there. It started to rain, and they have their own little tent for memorial, and they were sitting there, and someone was behind them mouthing off, and he turned around and said, "Who are you?" And he said, "I'm Mello." He said, "Well, you don't belong here. You don't go to memorial." He had a Centennial tracksuit on, and he said, "You need to leave. This ain't your spot." And some words were discussed. I'm not going to say on camera but he asked him to leave and basically said, "Make me," and then he wound up stabbing him in the heart and killing him. All over someone sitting in the wrong spot at a track meet. Now, I don't blame his parents. I don't blame him. But they all will suffer too. I feel for their family, because now their son will probably wind up in prison and learn that he killed someone. And he devastated and took my son that I can never get back. It's unfortunate for everyone involved. And I just hope it doesn't happen to anyone else. This world, you know, there need to be changes, and it starts at home. So I don't know. I'm not judging. I'm just happen to say that try to be kind in this world, and if you can't be kind, find someone who is.
Oh my gosh, Jeff. I mean, is there anything else that you want people to know about Austin? You want people to know how he'll be remembered? Is there anything else that you haven't shared?
I mean, it's hard right now. My thoughts are all over the place, to be honest. I mean, there's so many great things about him. I could probably sit here for 3 hours and go on and on and on. But he was a great friend. He was a leader. He was well respected in school by his teammates, by his coaches, by his friends. His girlfriend came up to me and said, "You know what? He talks about you a lot, and he loved you, and he treated me with great respect." And he goes, "You taught him that." You know, he was going to turn out to be a great individual and impact this world with positivity. So he was on the right track. He was doing everything right. I was so proud to have 2 sons, not just him, but 2 sons that do the exact same thing. My other son, Hunter's like, "Dad, I can't go on because Austin always had my back." I said, "I know." And when I kissed his forehead today, as his body was cold, I ran my fingers through his hair. I told him, "It's not goodbye. It's see you later. I'll join you at some point too, son. You just beat me to this place. So you keep an eye on me up there. Put in a good word for me. And we'll meet again."
Your faith is keeping you strong right now.
Yep. It's the only thing that's keeping me together. Otherwise, I'd be in a rubber room right now. So all I can do is pray. I don't understand it, but I have to live through it, and I have to still be here for my other son. So my journey's not done. It just took a really bad detour today that I'll probably never get over. I'll live with it the rest of my life. And I sure as hell don't want any other parent to feel the way that I feel today. Because when I got the call, I was scared, But I was thinking, hoping like he's stabbed in the stomach. It's not going to be that big a deal, surgery, as long as he's okay. When I saw him, I knew it wasn't good. And then when his brother told me, Dad, I tried to hold the wound to the blood, but there was too much. And he died in my arms. It's tragic. I don't know what else to really say.
How can the community best help you right now? Help you and your family right now? Is it thoughts and prayers? Is there a GoFundMe? How can they help you?
I hadn't even thought about that. That's a good idea. GoFundMe. I'll probably have someone set that up, and prayers. I believe I'm heavy in faith, and we just pray that this doesn't happen again to someone else. Unfortunately, I get to be the example. But, we have to try to turn negatives into positives. And he was a great kid, and he impacted a lot of lives. I'll never forget him, and neither will a lot of other people. So, community-wise, talk to your kids, teach your kids. It all starts at home. I know this world has changed. I'm old school, and it's a different world. It's unfortunate, but we all have to evolve. And if we all don't come together, black, white, yellow, brown, I don't care. It's all about human beings. We got to care about each other. We got to be kind to each other. You need to show compassion, show empathy, not anger, not rage. Teach your kids the right from wrong. And pray to God this doesn't happen to yours.
Mel, do you have any questions for Jeff? No. Jeff, anything else you'd like to share?
No, I just pray for my family right now in this time. It's a very tough time. I'm not sure how we will get through it, but I know God will get us through it. And I'll have a hole that I will carry with me the rest of my life, unfortunately.